Live in 30 seconds. Okay, we're live in 10. We're live in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm excited about what's happening in our country today. You know, God is really doing a lot of great things, and things are so different today than they were a couple of weeks ago, a couple of months ago, even a year ago. And it's just testimony that this world will not remain the same, that everything is changing, and we have to decide whether we're going to be a part of the change, whether or not we're going to have to just be a spectator. And so we're thankful today that we have this opportunity to talk to you from Daniel 2 and verses 44, which Miss Dyer is going to read after everyone kind of introduced themselves. We're going to start out with Miss Dyer. We have her with us this evening. We're just so happy to have her, and she has a new background on that. Boy, that looks good. Miss Dyer.
But hello, everyone. Let me say hello once again. I'm excited to actually be here with you all. So hello to our Rejoice 904 listening audience, Facebook, YouTube, all of you out there. Just want to say hello. And we're here to just really give you the foundation of information that's literally been hidden in plain sight. And so I'm just excited. So welcome. Now, if you are watching us from any stream, anywhere, make sure that you share this information. We are removing the blinders, exposing you to information, because this is going to shift and change that financial narrative in your life. So share, but also make sure you go like our YouTube channel, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Be your own, look, that's our website, Be Your Own Bank Movement on YouTube. So make sure you go watch it. So, and go like it, go subscribe. All right. We're here to ensure that you are financially educated, impacted, and your life is changed, where you put you and your family on the other side of money.
And we also have with us Dr. Craig Byfoot. How are you this evening?
I'm doing excellent. Let me apologize to our Facebook audience for not being able to be on camera, but coaching responsibilities are big on Tuesday. I am so excited to be able to be a part of this conversation. So to the Rejoice Network, to the listening audience, to my esteemed colleagues, I wish everyone a hearty hello.
And we also have with us Gerald D. Rogers, who's with us, and we're just our visionary. We're so happy to have him with. We're honored to have you with us today, Mr. Rogers. How are you?
I'm excited. You know, this is the year of transformation. So to our Rejoice 904 listening audience, we welcome to the broadcast, our Facebook family, Instagram, every platform of social media that we're connected to. But I need you to do us a favor. I need you to make sure that you like our content and share the page, because this crusade, this journey that we're on, the vision is clear. 2 million families financially educated and impacted. And you are in for a treat tonight. Once again, big shout out to Bishop Harold Rollison, elder statesman, a general in the Army. Appreciate your heartbeat, your thought process for making sure that we have tremendous content, that the scales can be lifted off the eyes of the people that we've been given the privilege of opening their ears. As Dr. Bythewood and Ms. Tashim Dyer, the Trade Whisperer. So let's dive in tonight, this afternoon, wherever you listen around the world, at the replay. We're just excited to be able to serve our friends, our neighbors, and our relatives.
Well, thank you, everyone. I'm so glad that you guys are so faithful to our mission, and we're so thankful to have this opportunity to be on today. And today we're coming from Daniel, the book of Daniel. And what I want us to understand before Ms. Dyer reads, so we can listen appropriately, is that Daniel is written in a style of writing called apocalyptic literature. Revelation is also that style of writing. That style of writing is designed to for the reader to picture what the writer is saying. It's sort of like when we're in the barber shop or we're talking to a nice young lady like Miss Darren. We say, you see what I'm saying? You see what I'm saying? You know, we want them to see what we wanted, what we're saying. We want them to have a picture. Now we understand that the picture that the writer is giving is a picture for the for the reader of that particular time. And so that's what makes Daniel and the book of Revelation more difficult for us in our time to interpret, because many of the things that we picture, we can't picture because we haven't seen them before. And so it's somewhat difficult. But Daniel wants us to picture in this passage what is taking place, because they've been in captivity 70 years. Now, a lot can happen in 70 years. In 70 years, you have uh, uh, generations of people who are born who have never heard their original language. They don't. They don't. They really and never been to uh, their homeland, and so it becomes very difficult for them to relate to an old dude like Daniel. And we experience that, some of that even today, as we experience uh, some of the marches that are taking place all over the country. This generation that's actually doing the marching we're not there with us in the 60s and 70s when we were marching. And so that's a new experience for them. But at the same time, because we've already experienced it, there's some things that we can share that can help facilitate uh, this current movement. And so I want us to keep that in mind as we read Daniel, because Daniel will say some things that we will have to picture in our mind, and we want to be able to picture it also in our conversation today. Miss Dyer, do you have Daniel chapter 2, verse 44 and
Absolutely,
45?
I do, Bishop, I do. And so, what it says is during the reigns of those kings, the God of heaven will set up a kingdom that will never be destroyed or conquered. It will crush all these kingdoms into nothingness, and it will stand forever.
Okay, that passage seems well. So what about that? Well, here's the what. They've been in captivity 70 years, and you've been a slave for 70 years. You might lose hope. You may begin to think that it's going to be like this always. And so we need somebody to sing the song that our grandparents used to sing. I'm so glad trouble don't last always. And so that's pretty much the message that Daniel said. Whatever you see today is not permanent. There's going to be some change, and God is a part of the change that is taking place. With Daniel, God is going to destroy those kings who seem like they are unbeatable. They can't be destroyed, and he's going to facilitate and bring about a change. And this change will be the kind of change where God is sovereign, and all people will flow unto God, and God will be the king of all. And there's some things that take place as a result of there being one people. There's also a change in currency, because as we know in our history, the dominant culture currency is king, and so the currency would change also. And we know over history that's the case. Currency change, the dominant currency change. And so we're experiencing something similar today, that we'll see the dismantling of so many countries. And we have to understand that God is involved in the change that's manifesting in the world, because he must be sovereign. He must reign and rule in this world. And so the way our currency functions is changing. I don't want it to catch us by surprise. I don't want us to be like those folk who had all that Confederate money buried in the house somewhere. They couldn't spend it because they would not recognize the change. And some folk are still caught in that, and they haven't recognized that the Confederacy is gone. And so as currency change, we must change, and it's best for us to not be caught in that position of having to react to the change, But I think it's best if we find ourselves knowledgeable and become a part of the change that's taking place. Miss Dyer.
Well, the one thing that stood out to me was change. So there's an evolution taking place. And I can actually really kind of think back to when we got to a point where we were literally shifting and making a transition to when we started using check cards and we moved away from the checks. So don't let me date myself, but I remember having this conversation with my grandmother. And one of the things that she didn't want to do, what she didn't want to adapt, is that shift and that change. And now, everybody wrote checks back then, everybody used the checkbooks, and we actually went to a check card, a ATM card, that card. And so it was really easy for us to shift and make that adjustment, but at the same time, it wasn't for that generation. And so understanding that, and understanding that generation didn't want to, but see, now look at where we are. If you really think about where we are, if someone is writing a check, you get agitated. If someone's writing a check, you get upset. If someone's writing a check, it's like, we're like, could you please hurry up? If you think about somebody writing a check in front of you. So right now that change is happening. That shift is here. And so now here we are once again, making a shift, and we're making a change. And understanding that we're making that change, our younger generation is puts us in the mind of, our parents now, not grandparents, our parents really having to understand that shift and that change is here. So the only thing that doesn't change is change. That means that it's always going to be change. So we always have to be willing to evolve. And so what's important for us is the education, understanding that we have to do it. If you think about it right now, even with like Dogecoin or cryptocurrencies and individuals giving financial advice via Facebook, all these different apps, all these different things that are coming out where individuals are really giving advice and wanting us to adapt via Facebook or via our friends and family, but they're doing it without the education. And so understanding that we're in this evolution, understanding that the dominant currency is going to change, because even think gold was that dominant currency for a safe haven for our investments, but now Bitcoin is being recognized as that. So we really have to shift, change, and also make sure we're educated in the process.
Wow, that can be very challenging. For those who are not really aware of what's happening with the computer and the electronic issues and the money, people sometimes really frightened by that, because you can get one, if you really try, you can buy you a big chunk of gold. But with crypto, it's just kind of out there, and it's not tangible. It's in the matrix somewhere. Dr. Byfield, can you help us with that?
Well, what I'm going to do, Bishop, is do two things. First, I'm going to respond to this very important topic, but I'm also going to treat everyone in our listening audience like the television shows do, by giving you something to look forward to. Because in the first week of May, I am going to be conducting a 2-part educational series on digital currency, which I will go from the history to the present to the future, and really make anyone be able to understand what this whole digital currency situation is about. So that will be the first Tuesday and first Thursday in the month of May. But while we're here talking about this right now, there are really two phases. Phase one is what has already been stated, which is we need to be able to respond. But we also have to go a little bit deeper in understanding that we also need to view these changes and these shifts from the perspective of what the institution is trying to do. In teaching personal finance over a number of decades, I coined a term called millennium bond, which simply means that last millennium, it was really simple. You got in your horse and carriage and you would ride into town and you would point to the item that you want and you would simply take your money out and give it for whatever that was. But now There is a sophisticated methodology of selling things, of presenting things, which is of benefit to the institution and not necessarily the buyer. So it is so important that we think about how and why things are set up. Here's a quick example. I remember in the 1990s being in graduate school and us studying a theoretical article that made the point: banks, financial institutions are moving toward a cashless society. And when I asked my banking professor why that was, he had no idea. So phase one of this example is to go back to the Bibleism. If you know what you are doing, you will always have a job. And if you know why you're doing it, you will always be the boss. And those interactions with my professors in the early part of my professional life is where that biphysism came from, because they were really adept at teaching us what was going on. But my mindset always wanted to know why, and the answers weren't always there. Well, there's a fee structure associated with having institutions give you cards rather than cash, because your ability to be able to track what a card is doing is going to be affected. It's going to be impacted. And the less you're able to know where the money's coming from and be able to track what's coming out because it's electronically placed on a card, you can lose sight of that. And when you lose sight of that, it allows institutions to collect fee after fee after fee. So this is an old school example I'm giving, but I'm doing it to provide a new school perspective, which is as these institutions begin to change the way in which we process currency, it's so important for us to have a mindset of A, how are you compensated, institution? And B, what are the different implications to me? It's as simple as you going to take your car to a mechanic and asking the question, are you paid a fixed salary or are you paid per service that you provide? It's fair to ask that question, but when you ask it, you understand why the mechanic is providing the services that you provide. How many times have you and I got an oil change? And they always say the same thing: I need to show you something. And they take you out to the car. Never been to a mechanic with any of you, but all of you are resonating with this common trend. And then they show you all the different things that need to be addressed right now. And if it was my car, I certainly wouldn't put it on the road with this situation. How do I know that you've had that experience? Because the mechanic is being compensated per service. So all I'm saying is, as we adjust to these changes, as we put ourselves in the position of reacting and responding to these changes, also look at the institutional gain, and that puts us in a position of strength.
You're absolutely right, Dr. Bywood. And some of us, when we go to that mechanic, we just go out and buy a brand new car. Just give me another car. I don't even want to drive this no more. So,
The trade whisperer, the trade whisperer.
Mr. Rogers, go ahead.
I think I'm getting some great dialogue out of this, because you may mention that the, 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 the children of Israel were in captivity for 70 years and they seemingly had lost hope. And then, the kingdom as it was known to Nebuchadnezzar is now being told that it's going to change, and the power base that he once had will be, diminished. And I think about this BYOB movement. We are serving in the capacity, I believe, that the draw between the establishment and the reshaping of the people who have not been able to benefit for what the establishment has. So Daniel, and for our listening audience, this is very important. And Ms. Dyer alluded to it earlier. There are a lot of information commentary out there about how to get engaged, and you're taking advice from individuals. But I believe that this group has a specific assignment to ensure, because the king was always in control. The institutions have always been in control, but now now we're in a season where the individuals are now being made privy to this information, hence hidden in plain sight. This is why we do what we do. So, but you do need someone to interpret the dream of the establishment, and most importantly, to provide hope for those who feel like they've been excluded from this information. So that's the role that Daniel was playing, because he gave information to the king and said, listen, you guys have been in control, the establishment been in control, but now guess what? Because of education, people are now being made more aware, then your stronghold is going to be diminished. And then for those of you who have come out of family situations where the education regarding your financial prowess seemingly had been eluding you and you've lost hope and thinking that it's not for you, guess what? We bridge that gap. This BYOB Bank movement is designed to operate just like Daniel was, reminding the people who've not been able to benefit from this information, guess what? We have hope for you. And also to make the establishment be made known that, yes, there's a shifting and we're now going to have access. So you need to be prepared, hence BYOB Bank. And this is why I think this is a definitely appropriate passage of scripture to understand that at some point, you know, God said that he came that we may have life and have it more abundantly, but we need not to be intimidated or afraid that, guess what? Your financial resources is equally important as your spiritual intuitiveness, so that you can establish a kingdom the way things need to be done in our communities, our places of fellowship. And you, the individual, our listening audience, you should have the same authority and power to be the philanthropist, because no longer are you concerned about your personal household, because there's plenty meat in your house that now you can be benevolent and share the information.
That's so true.
Just to kind of just thinking about the comment that Mr. Rogers just made, where he said people will be thinking, oh, this is not for me, or this is not, you know, because it's not your narrative, or it hasn't been your family background, or it hasn't been something you're accustomed to. I'm moved right now. I'm in like a state of, you know, I'm just in a state of gratitude and thankfulness right now, because I've literally had 3 conversations over this today, actually. But one of them that really moved me, and I'm talking about people in profit, people making withdrawals, people doing something significant. But I'm moved right now because there is someone who is a part of our movement who is learning this skill set. And just, I mean, literally making a withdrawal, making her first withdrawal. But the thing is her account went to 300%. And if you know, she did a 300% increase in her account from last month. And past profits don't guarantee future success, but she is someone we've talked. And when you're from that background, or where you have that mindset and that mentality, that because someone told you this is what life is, someone told you your future is making sure your bills are paid on time, someone told you that this is, you know, that's financial freedom, is you can pay your bills without them having to be late. And so to be put in a position to where now you're able to make a withdrawal and you're able to capitalize on income and profit and in a sense of financial freedom that you never even thought was possible for you. This is why we do what we do. And this is why this movement is so important to us, because of those stories right there. It's just success after success after success. All you have to do is be willing to accept that challenge, be willing to say, you know what, I deserve this and I'm going to do it.
That's so true, Ms. Dyer. And change is coming. And I think when we talk about change, I think those who recognize change was coming and trying to hold things in the right to its present circumstances, I think that was the reason we see all of these guys on January 6th breaking into the Capitol, because there's a resistance to change. And it's on a lot of different levels. But I think those who have been exposed to cash saw this coming a long time ago. I think maybe 15 years ago or 20, Russell Simmons saw this coming. And so many of you may remember Russell Simmons card he had, where he was trying to get people who didn't normally have debit cards and cash cards to get one, because it was necessary in order for them to rent a car or to buy a plane ticket, you needed to have some digital currency of some type. And that was before debit cards became as prevalent as they are now. And so Russell Simmons, it was someone who was uh, somewhat involved in cash. He's cash happy. And so he understood how cash functioned. And so if you haven't been exposed to a lot of capital in your life, then you may not understand what's taking place. And so it is hidden in plain sight to those who have not been exposed. You don't know what you don't know, more or less, and you haven't experienced it, and so you don't understand how capital work and how this has a direct impact on your day-to-day life. And so let's educate ourselves. Let's become financially educated so that we can be a part of the change and not have to watch and spectate the change taking place on us.
See, Bishop, you said you're talking about people and change, and let's not talk about Russell Simmons. Let's talk about you. Because most of the time, since you want to talk about me, let's talk about you. So most of the time, when we think about wealth,
Is it get back?
but I mean, but I say that with a good heart, seriously, because most of the time when we think about wealth, we talk about like the Oprah Winfrey's, the Russell Simmons, or we think about those individuals, but they had to get there. And so most people are in a mindset that it's not somebody that they know. It's not someone in their circle. It's not someone. And so it makes it more far-fetched, right? It makes it further away. So, but the reality is it's available to all of us. And so, but it's a mindset thing as well. Because when you think about it, wealthy people got wealthy because they have a different mindset. Wealthy people obtain wealth because they had a mindset not of poverty or not of lack. So we forget that the Jeff Bezos was sitting in a garage slaving in the midnight hours. That's the underneath the scenes before he was a household name. You don't realize that there was some work that you had to labor in and put in, because how did you become a seven-figure earner? How did you obtain the things that you did? How did it? Because before people knew who you were and before that check was there, right, there was some work that had to be put in. And, before, right, when you could cash out and go buy a car, you literally there was some work that had to be put in. So it's literally a shift of mindset. And so it's not about what I have currently, it's about where my mindset is. And that's what's ultimately going to manifest your future, your focus. Your focus is going to manifest your future. So what is your mindset? If you don't believe that you deserve it, or you don't believe that you can have it, then guess what? You won't have it. It will not be yours for the taking. And so that mindset shift has to take place before you ever see anything transpire. I mean, we operate in residuals, period. So if you have a lack of mindset, if you have a less than mindset, if you did some things in the past, you're operating in what you sold previously, right? So your current life is a reflection of what you previously sold. So if I sold good, if I sold wealth, if I sold that, then ultimately it's going to begin to manifest, and I'm operating that. But what most people don't want to accept is they sold lack, they sold defeat, they sold broke. And that's why they live the life that they do. And that mindset shift and that transformation has to take place.
Wow.
That's so true.
That's powerful. Bishop, I want to tag team with Ms. Dyer, and like she said, let's talk about you. I mean, you've been extremely successful. You've come from what seemingly would be a foreign land, and from South Carolina. You've been able to matriculate around many cities. You've traveled around the world. You've been a man of resource, intellect, and proudness. And like she said, let's make this thing real personal for our listening audience, because you've been able to have a tremendous impact. You've helped so many people. You've been a government official. You've operated as a dean of a college. You've been a tremendously successful business owner, multiple businesses. And I'm standing in agreement with Ms. Dyer. And you said that Daniel was talking about being able to speak forward in a picture that no matter what the environment was, Daniel was encouraging the people to let them know that their location has nothing to do with their final destination. And there has to be something captured in the mind first. And we must be willing to dig our own wells, right? And that's one of the things that I believe Daniel was really adamant about, encouraging the people. Yes, you're in captivity. You were born into captivity. You didn't get an opportunity to experience the mental freedom, but still you're without excuse because you've been called out of darkness into this marvelous light. So this transition that we're experiencing right now with the evolution of currency, it is now time for those who have been asleep to awake. But you've paved that way, Bishop, and now it is because of seeds that you've sown, and you've always said in private. So I want to make it the announcement publicly that you are anointed for wealth, and it's a part of your birthright. So for those who are listening, our listening audience, the mere fact that you're digesting this information, you're in this environment that you're listening, I want to make a declaration because this is a year of transformation. You are anointed for wealth. You are anointed for wealth. This is an opportunity for you to connect with some visionaries who can interpret the message as Daniel interpreted the message for the people who had lost hope, and then let them know that there's a shifting that has already taken place. But we want to accelerate, shorten your learning curve, be a part of the largest economic empowerment movement in the history of mankind, because the tablets have been written, and the voice of these individuals that you're listening to right now, they can make it simple and easy for you to take advantage of the information.
That's absolutely true. That's absolutely true, and we're thankful about that. And we have to have the attitude that that whatever's causing us to resist listening and to resist taking hold to this information that we're getting. A lot of times there's a certain amount of I hate to say it among us, there's a certain amount of envy, resentment that keeps us from we want to pick and choose who we learn from. And I shared with a bishop in Houston over the weekend as we shook hands on a deal that we have a window that God's given us that we should take advantage of it. There's a transfer of wealth taking place in the world, and God's given his people, the people of his kingdom, the people of the kingdom that Daniel talked about, an opportunity to partner with their giftings. And as we partner together, if we have the integrity to be able to partner together, God has already blessed, God has already ordained for us to be a part of this wealthy process that's taking place right now among us right now, this very moment. And so take advantage of Miss Dyer and Mr. Rogers and Dr. Bythewood. Take advantage of this information that they're sharing with you today. It's good information. You can only prosper from it. And so things are different. It's different, and different is good for those. If you're sitting at home and you broke, busted, and disgusted, you want to hear different. You want to hear things are going to be different. That change is here, not coming, but change is here. And all we have to do is be willing to make that change and to grab hold of this information. Dr. Bythewood.
We've all heard that reference to a movie where the phone is ringing and the person calls out to figure out who's calling them. And then the police say the calls are coming from inside the house. So it's scary, but it's also a part of what we have to do is realize that the call really does come from the inside. So I want everyone that is under the sound of our voices to recognize this. Being anointed for wealth is not an occurrence. It is not a happenstance. I heard a story recently where a gentleman was counseling a couple, and the couple said, "We want to buy a house, but we can't afford it." And The gentleman said, well, you don't need money for a house. And they said, why? Because you haven't made a decision to get the house. Because if you made the decision, then the money would come. So I say all that to say this. Being anointed for wealth is not happenstance. It's not an occurrence. It's not a scenario. It's not a situation. It is a decision. When Bishop Harold Robinson decided to be anointed with wealth, then the only thing that could happen in his experience is for that to happen. I am that I am. I am that I am. So the beautiful part about that story, the beautiful part about that testimony is that there are people right now who prior to tuning into this call had not thought of themselves as being anointed for wealth. But in this moment, with these role models, with these stories, you can decide right now, I am anointed for wealth, and it will begin to come into form. But in this moment, with
That's very true, Dr. Bywood, that we were created. God created us for wealth, to be wealthy. He created us. When in the very beginning, when he created Adam, he prepared the soil, he prepared the sky, he prepared the water, the rain, the soil, and the seed, and he gave it to Adam. And Adam was the wealthiest person that God ever created. And he was so wealthy. He was so wealthy that he needed help managing all the wealth that God had given him. And he took a rib from his side and made him an ezer. The scripture says, Hebrew says, someone could do for him what he couldn't do for himself. And so that's the perspective of life that we got to look at it. Jesus came that we might have life and that we might have abundance in this life. And so that's God's will for our lives. And that's not God's will for us to be broke, disgusted, and can't be trusted. But he wants us to enjoy the wealth of this world. Everything, all the gold, all the oil, Adam owned all of it. All the diamonds in the world, Adam was in charge of all of it. And so that's the kind of wealth that God wanted for mankind. And God wants us to be wealthy. God don't want us to be spectators. God don't want us to sit back and let things happen to us, but he wants us to be a part of those who make things happen. And so this is our connection. This is how we connect. This is a what we call a start over when it comes to economics, because things are changing. Our current economic institutions are falling apart. And as they fall apart, there's an opportunity for a restart. It's sort of like pitching a song. I don't know if we have any singers in our group, but I was always told when I tried to sing that if you pitch a song wrong, you can't change the pitch in the middle of the song. You got to start it all over, and just to get the song right. And that's what's happening economically in America. We got to start this song all over, and we got to be a part of the beginning of the economic movement that's taking place in the world. And so let's don't squander this opportunity that God has given us. Let's take advantage of it. Let's be a part of what's going on, and let's educate ourselves so we won't have to depend on someone else's information and their time that they choose to give us that information. This information is available to us today, and let's take advantage and let's make ourselves available to learn.
I don't do music. I don't do songs. We're not gonna do that, but I do money. So I feel a new affirmation. So I am anointed for wealth. That is a new affirmation. And so I need all of you all to just speak it, say it, own it. I am anointed for wealth. Because the only way something's going to shift and change on the inside of you is when you own it and when you speak it and when you walk in it. So I need everybody to say every day more than once, I am anointed for wealth. So that will tap into your subconscious, which is going to tap into your energy, which is going to tap into your energy flow, and it's going to tap into the manifestation in your life.
Ms. Dye,
Yes,
I believe you do have a song for us.
No,
Go
you
ahead,
don't.
go
It's
ahead.
called money. That's all I have. All I do is win.
that sounds like the old days to me. Money, money, money. Mr.
Well,
Rogers.
I think about when the essence of Dr. Bythewood said something, it happens on the inside of us first. And we're talking about wealth and being anointed for wealth. And I want our listening audience to really capture that wealth is really a state of mind. It's a state of mind that because we operate in our being, when you know who you are, you just do what you were purpose and designed to do. So how do we get the instructions? Well, we read the blueprint. For us, for me personally, it's the word of God that gives us the blueprint. Yeah, because from the manufacturer always knows how a particular tool is designed to work. So I'm simply encouraging our listening audience to listen up. There's a litany of things that even in the midst of being captivity, the children of Israel on multiple occasions found themselves not adhering to the design that they were given. And they found themselves in vicarious situations, but there was always a word of encouragement, a word of hope to remind them of who they were initially created to be. Even when Moses gave Pharaoh the world system, he said, let my people go. So I'm speaking to our listening audience right now. You are free to walk in your personal prosperity. And then he said to them, guess what? Because you have been in bondage so long and you've been ensnared so long, I'm giving you tools and resources to start your new life. Bishop, you mentioned restart. So he said, look behind you. They're going to give you gold, silver, and everything and you'll never see them anymore again. So guess what? That's what this education is doing, right? We're empowering you to know no matter what land you go into, journey into, we're giving you the tools. Yes, there are going to be some things that you're going to have to overcome. There's going to be some resistance. There's going to be some warfare. But listen, we are equipping you that you can now operate in your being. And then guess what? That it continues. Why do we call this the Beyond Bank movement? Because we believe that you personally, no matter where you are, no matter what you not been available to, but because of who you are, the covenant relationship that has been established before you had any opportunity to participate, show up, or do your part, it says that you shall be the lender and not the borrower. Yes, that's your responsibility. Adam created industry, and you are an offspring of that. So it should be manifesting in your own life. And guess what? This is a new season. There's blessings, but it requires you to activate your faith, stand on the wall with us, bring your brick as we pray with one hand and we war with the other. That's what this movement is all about. And once again, Daniel was there to remind the people that it doesn't matter. Your mind is free. Let this mind be in you, which also was in Christ Jesus, that he thought it not robbery, that he humbled himself. And in due season, he exalted him. So this is your due season. Yes, you've been oppressed. You've been suppressed, depressed, oppressed. But guess what? The breaker has come to break every chain. Your mind is free. I'm anointed for wealth.
True that, Mr. Rogers. And you know that idea of being the lender and the borrower, it could cause a whole world war to break out. The Jews went into to Germany and they became the lenders and not the borrowers. And they own all the financial institutions. They couldn't own land, but they own all the financial institutions. They own all the insurance companies. And Mr. Hitler said, we want our country back. That sounds familiar, doesn't it? And so he began to try to kill the Jews in order to get their banks and their financial institutions back. And so we had a world war behind that because they took over the country because they owned all the financial institutions. And so this is a very powerful opportunity that we have, that we can become a part of that which controls the wealth of the world. Can you imagine that we can change the world, if we have an opportunity to have some money. And so we need to be a part of that. Dr. Bythewood.
I checked my mail today and I opened it prior to realizing where the letter was coming from. And it was one of those loan offerings. And while I was at the light, if I can just be honest, I was bored. So I started reading it. And I noticed that it was one of those loans from a tribal organization. So I thought two very interesting big picture strategic thoughts. First, the fact that how interesting it is that there's certain high profit industries that we allow Native Americans to participate in based on righting a wrong, based on some of the systemic and cultural wrongs that we've done to them as a nation. So we say, okay, here's your 40 acres and a mule type of environment where we're going to allow you to be able to participate in these markets. But the other thing that I thought was interesting was this. Prior to 1999, financial institutions did not have to quote the actual interest rates that were charged. So example, a Am or a payday loan, those rates were very high, but you didn't have to disclose it. So certain individuals went to Capitol Hill in the same fashion in which they're doing it now and said, hey, we want rights. We want the opportunity for institutions to be real with us. So they passed a law called the Financial Services Disclosure Act in 1999. Now, watch this. Watch how thematically sound this is with everything we've been saying. They didn't say institutions weren't allowed to exploit individuals. They didn't say that we have to change the culture. They didn't say that they have to change the system. They just said, when you exploit people, you have to let them know. So in the very back of this loan offering, in really small, light gray print, it stated, this loan is going to be a computed interest rate of between 350 and 450%. So I just wonder how many people, with 4 million people being out of work, would take that and only look at the front part, only fill out the application, only go to the website, only pull out their phone and apply without ever looking at that financial services disclosure. So it brings me back to our original point that things are changing, systems are changing, but we have to make ourselves accountable for being in charge of the information, to be empowered, to pay attention, to cross our T's, to dot our I's, to make ourselves available. Because at this moment, things are changing, but institutions are still presenting things in a way which are pro-institution and maybe not pro-household. So it is our responsibility to decide, I am anointed for wealth. And then that type of mindset will put us in a position where we'll just get an inkling. We'll just get a feeling to say, let me look at the back of this document. Let me ask this question. And that puts us in a position of strength. All of these conversations, this entire economic empowerment, this entire understanding what's happening in our system, that is what the Be Your Own Bank movement is all about. And that is why I'm so proud to be a part of this team.
So
Well,
just before we ask another question, I kind of shift the subject. I want to emphasize the transformation. I really want to emphasize the transformation because Dr. B just hit on some key points. He really just, he tapped on some things, but I want to emphasize the transformation in that because he asked a question. And I thought about it when he asked it, how many people would? How many people would? Well, most people won't. And that is because we're so caught up in our circumstances and our right now, as opposed to where we want to be and understanding who we are and walking in the firmness and the affirmations of what we want to manifest in our lives. And so there has to be a mindset shift. But even in that, there's a few times on this broadcast that we've mentioned the things that are past, or that narrative flows back to what happened in the past. And that also is a mindset shift that we must take place, because even if I look at my personal circumstances, which no, I was never enslaved and no, I was never any of that. But if I look at my personal circumstances, I don't start my conversation out with, well, we were broke. well, I had to write the this of my generation, or well, that, you know, we have to operate. You know, when I knew that I wanted more, my mindset was always focused on where I was going and not where I came from. And that is also that transformation shift that must take place. And so we do it so subconsciously all the time that we have to always operate in the forward. And I hear it so much because even with our women, all right, Women Teach Forex in our women's movement, that's our focus right now. Our focus is forward. Our focus is evolution. Our focus is excellence. Our focus is mindset. Our focus is meditation. Our focus is our vision. Our focus is all of that. And if we're going to operate in that, we can never look back. You know, we can't look back. We have to press forward. And so if we're going to operate and I'm anointed for wealth, if we're going to operate in that thought process and that mindset, we have to press forward and understand that if I'm going to grasp it, I have to let go.
That's right. We got to move forward. And the knowledge is so much power. I'll just give you an example very briefly. We buried my mother 2 weeks ago. And you know, when you bury, you know, you got to go sit and have a little talk with the funeral director. And the funeral director got upset because I wouldn't buy a casket from him. He said, well, you can get a casket. I said, well, I'll get one. He wanted to charge me $5,000-$6,000 for a casket. And I knew I had sold that casket before. I knew that casket cost $500. So I wouldn't buy the casket because I knew where I can get it for maybe $1,000. Let somebody make $500, get it for $1,000. And that's what I did. He wanted to sell me a vault for $1,500. And I told him, I said, I used to buy those vaults right there for $250 all day long. And he looked at me real funny. He said, mouth open. I said, I'm sorry. I know you got to operate your business, but you can't make that kind of profit off of me and my sister. And so knowledge is power, and knowledge will make you money and save you money. But here's why I got jacked on in the deal. My sister and I, we pay for everything. And my mother had some insurance. She had about 10 insurance policies. You know, old people that have all these old 15. She had a stack. My sister had a stack of them. And so I said, well, we'll just wait till those come through. And as they come through, we giving each other our money back. And she Cash App me some money. I did not know. Now, Cash App is electronic banking. And they hold your money and they don't give you a dime interest off of it. They control your money. I tried to download $3,000. They told me, oh, you can't do that. You're over your limit. I didn't know I had a limit. Your limit is $2,500 a week.
You have a limit.
And so when I was able to download the 2,500, they sent it to a closed bank account. And so I said I made 50 transactions over the last 6 months, and we use this same account. And so they held my money for 2 weeks, over $4,000, and they didn't give me a dime interest off it. They didn't give me an apology. They didn't give me any explanation, because you can't talk to anybody. You can't go like you can go down to Chase or one of these other banks and shake your finger in somebody's face. You can't do that because you got to type and hope somebody responds to you in a timely fashion. And so banking has changed. And you have to use my kids don't know anything about a Western Union. Cash App has put Western Union practically out of business. Between Cash App and Walmart and these other little small money transfer companies, they have put Western Union out of business.
They better evolve.
Something has to happen. Better change.
Yeah.
See, because if you refuse to change, then you will become irrelevant.
They better get an app. They better start transferring money.
Everything's happening on the app, and if you don't know how to do an app, you're in trouble.
So, but I did, Bishop. I made a transfer a few weeks ago. A large transfer, and I have a bank that you can talk to somebody, and they held it for a week. So, not the normal 2 to 3 days. They held it for an entire week because of the amount. So, and I was like, wait a minute. So they gave me $500 after. That's because I could talk to somebody. They let me hold $500 of my own
Of your money. Your money. They gave you your money.
But I had to wait a week for the rest of it. So
That's exciting.
so see, that's what talking to somebody gets you $500.
Make Miss Dyer. I'm like Bishop now. I know I want to hear you sing a song today, because you was talking about leaning forward and leaning forward. So I'm not looking back, I'm moving ahead. The past is over.
I'm not gonna change my voice.
You make all things new.
The reality is I get too much from my dad,
and I will follow you forward. We're falling forward, right? We're falling forward. Transformation.
I can lip sync. I got you.
Go ahead, lip sync there. Let me hear your lip sync. Our listening audience, we're having a great time today. I mean, I'm listening to my business partners. The joy of the fact is that they are so well resourced that even in the midst of a system that tries to always control infrastructure, they have the luxury and the privilege of not having a need. And that's really what we want to make sure that our listening audience, you understand. This skill set has put them in a position where they can, in the midst of just, even though it is their money, but we want to educate you, we want to empower you and just, be totally free and liberated in that regards, because change is happening. We do desire for you to look forward, to lean forward. Your past is over. There is a brand new, and brand new starts when you begin, and as Dr. Byth would, you make the decision to be new, to be new, to be new.
Wow. Dr. Bywood.
Anointed for well. Okay. See?
Yes, sir. I actually was going to say the same thing, Ms. Dyer, that this is a great way to leave this conversation by actionizing ourselves and following the lead of Ms. Dyer. Let's all state, wherever you are right now. My daughter asked my mother today, where were you when Martin Luther King did his I Have a Dream speech? Where were you when Ms. Dyer decided to announce that we all should say, I am anointed for wealth? So that will be our battle cry. And that will be what will be our existence, because we will state it with such intensity and emotion.
Yes. So I also, I'm sorry, Bishop, go ahead.
No, well, you in charge, Ms. Dyer. We all know that.
No, I just want you, if you are not a part of the movement, go to our website, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. But if you are not a part of the movement, I want you to text wealth, okay? Text wealth to 904-567-0634. This is for those who are not a part of the movement. 904-567-0634, because you are anointed for wealth. And so we're going to get you plugged into the source. We're going to make sure that you are plugged in so you understand that you are anointed for wealth. So go ahead and affirm it and text wealth. But then also, you need to go to our website, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Yes, BeYourOwnBankMovement.com. Understand what this movement is all about. And then also, I want to make sure that you join us. So text us, let us know, so you can join us tonight, because your educational journey begins tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then following that is a talk with the finance doctor. So we have BYOB Market Talks, followed by a talk with the finance doctor. And then you want to make sure you think like a bank, act like a bank, be your own bank, and you want to look like a bank. BYOB Movement Shop. I know you guys like this, right? This is a dress. I'm not standing up, but this is a dress. It's on our website. Make sure you always want to excellence, right? Everything we do in excellence. So it's on our website. Go to our site. We are here. I'm talking about just wealth in its totality. I am anointed for wealth. And you can also pick up a copy of our book. Hold on. I know I got this new background. Y'all got to work with me. They need to look at the book. So here we go. Be Your Own Bank Hidden in
Mhm.
Plain Sight. So Be Your Own Bank, Hidden in Plain Sight. Go leave a review on Amazon. If you've read it, go leave us a review. And if you have not, go pick it up. So make sure you pick up a copy of this book, all right? So we love you all. You guys want to add anything as we begin to close out?
You did a
Like-
great job, Ms. Dyer. We're just so excited about what God is doing and that the change that's taking place all around us, and we want to be a part of that change. We want to make that change.
Can I sing a song as we close
Yeah.
out?
You could close us out in song. See, there we go. There we go. There we
No,
go.
we just having fun. Hey, but you say if you start the song out in the wrong pitch, you got to restart. But I just want you to know that we're excited to serve. Nobody's gonna outserve us. This is an amazing group of people that we had the privilege of working together, operating together. But we have your family in mind and in heart. So all things become new, right? You are a new creation. Your wealth is a part of that heritage. So back to you, Ms. Dyer.
So I got a request for the phone number again, but I want you to know, if you are already a part of the movement, text BYOB cash out. If you are not a part of the movement, you text wealth. So we can get you plugged in. That's 904-567-0634. 904-567-0634. All right, love you all. This has been a wonderful broadcast. I'm anointed for wealth. And this has been your Hidden in Plain Sight broadcast. And I will see you tonight, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. God bless. And this will officially conclude this broadcast.
All right.